of the whole meeting for Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. Has appropriate meeting notification been made?
It has, Your Honor.
If you'd call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Here.
Alderman Shellpepper is excused this evening. He is attending the Veterans of Foreign Wars National Convention in Washington, D.C. as a member of the Wisconsin delegation. He'll be presenting veterans issues to senators and members of the House of Representatives. McConnell.
Here.
Youngworth is also excused this evening. Rosick.
Here.
Alderman Altman-Cloth.
Here.
Alderman Ellis.
Present.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. If we can go on to committee business, provide direction on a potential use of funds for TID number 4 for affordable housing. So our esteemed finance director,
Excellent. Thank you,
Steve
Mr.
Hatton,
Mayor.
if you'd lead us, that would be great.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So TID 4 has come to the end of its life. Whether we pursue an affordable housing extension or not, during your next meeting, I'll bring you a resolution to terminate that TID. All the project expenses that were planned for that TID have been completed. And by statute, when we're able to and all those costs have been paid, we must close. So that will happen at our next meeting. And all of those parcels that have been in the TID since 2003 will come back onto the tax rolls. So regardless if we extend or not extend, it really applies towards what we've collected this year in increment from that TID, and whether that can be retained for affordable housing or whether it gets returned to the underlying jurisdictions. So what raised this as an opportunity or a thought to bring to your attention before we terminate is really in our February 3rd meeting, the first meeting in February, the Western Sewer Service Study was presented. And I guess we looked at the costs, knowing that our borders are fixed and the remaining undeveloped land in the city is really the more difficult land, more expensive land to develop. This, and then the subsequent week, I attended the Elders Public Finance Conference, and I was reminded of this affordable housing extension as a tool that communities have. I did use it in my time with Whitewater. It is something that they opted to use, but I wasn't aware of how familiar, if there was any familiarity with the council in what it is, why or how it might be used. So if it can make some, just as one opportunity, if it can make some of those outlying areas tip over the border between being unaffordable and realistic to something that is feasible, thought that would be worth looking at. So Phil Colson, whom I think you all know, has worked with the city for a long time, is here from Ellers to help kind of introduce what is the affordable housing extension to you and address any questions you might have. So, Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil, for coming.
Thank you, Mayor. Good to be back in Oconomowoc. It's been a little while. I do have a deck. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Everybody knows I'm technology challenged. Thank
As long as you're not numbers challenged.
you. No, that I'm not. No, thank you. So what I'd like to do is just kind of walk through some historical information on the use of the affordable housing extension. This has been around for quite a while, and I know there was a question as to why was it potentially brought forward back when you closed out tax increment district number 3. We could address that as I go through the information. But I'll walk through kind of some of the use that has been happening statewide and what it really means from the standpoint of how it can be used. Sorry, I think I'm on a different slide here already. Told you I was technology challenged. Go back, here we go. All right, so a couple of things really quick on the criteria and the use. So these are really the important components of if you decide to move forward with the affordable housing extension. It's a permitted method in the TIF statutes, and it's been around since about 2009 in the statutes. It wasn't really used much for quite a few years. And it's really to fund affordable housing and housing stock improvements throughout a community. And it allows you to take the 1 year's increment, and we'll talk about what that dollar amount is in a little bit, 1 year's increment collection for this purpose. There's been numerous bills that have tried to move forward in Madison to extend from 1 year to multiple years, 2 or 3 years. That's moving through the process again, but right now, under state statutes, you can only collect for 1 year to use for the affordable housing extension. So the criteria is that 75% of the funds really need to benefit affordable housing, and there's we'll get into what that means, the definition a little bit. The remaining 25% must be used to improve housing stock and can be spent anywhere in the community. There's really no spend down time frame. So you can work through a process to actually define where you think the best use of the money is. You could actually do a housing study prior to. You have time once you make the decision, if you make a decision to collect the revenue for affordable housing, you have time to be able to do the studies necessary to best determine where you'll get the biggest bang for your buck. The TIF definition for affordable housing is housing costs no more than 30% of the household's gross monthly income. And the first question that should pop in your head is, well, who determines that and how do we monitor that? As any tax increment district kind of program, there's really no TIF police out there. You're really kind of monitoring it yourself. You're doing your own criteria and analysis to make sure that you're meeting that criteria. But I can tell you from just past experience working with this program over many years is that there's nobody coming knocking in your door later on saying, by the way, that one house did not qualify. You're really doing your best due diligence through the process to make sure it meets that criteria. As Steve indicated, there's all that's required to move this forward is a governing body resolution, essentially identifying in the resolution how the funds are going to be spent. And you know, that could be modified. You are required in the resolution to identify that it's going to be used for, you know, the purpose of affordable/workforce housing to improve housing stock, and then you can really further refine that later on as you go through. So most communities, they'll retain the funds, and then they'll do some type of housing study to determine where the best use of the funds are over the next couple of years. So very simple approval process, just a governing body resolution coming back to the council for approval. And again, you're only allowed to collect 1 year's increment. Well, you could see when affordable housing and workforce housing really kind of hit the radar, and it's obviously in the, out in the stratosphere these days in every community, it seems like. Everybody's talking affordable housing. That really wasn't the case back, you know, in early 2010, 11, 12. We didn't hear much about it. It really became an issue really starting around 2018, 2019, 2020, where we started seeing the incredible appreciation of value of properties over the last 5 to 6 years. That's where the affordability crisis really kind of triggered the need for, you know, any type of program such as this to try to drive down the overall cost of housing. And so you'll see the use by year, and this comes right from the Department of Revenue. Working with the city of Waukesha, they analyzed this as well. So you can see that it's really been in use a great deal over the last 5, 6 years. And I could tell you in 2026, we're working on about 10 different affordable housing extensions for communities that just see that there's a dramatic need out there to help drive down the cost of projects. So you can see here also, this is another way to look at it. It's what percent of TIDs that were closed actually used the affordable housing extension. And you can see here that the numbers have really jumped since 2019. So nearly, roughly, approximately a half of all districts that closed now in the state of Wisconsin, actually, the communities have chosen to use this 1-year housing extension to create a fund to help drive down the cost of housing in that community. So you can see it's been widely used statewide, and we really are seeing that ramped up over the last couple of years. This map really kind of shows that it's statewide. But if you really analyze and look at the map in a little more detail, you can see where the areas are that you hear about the challenges of getting into housing. Dane County, you can see all the communities around Dane County right here in the middle. That surrounds the Madison area. You can see that it's been dramatic. The use has been significant in that area to help with the costs. You can see Milwaukee County out here as well. Waukesha has used it in Waukesha County. There are others that are going to. Some of this is driven by when the district closes too. So you can't just do this. You have to wait till the district closes to be able to utilize this. The other area we see a great deal of use that is kind of off the page here a little bit is the northwest part of the state. If you think Minneapolis, Hudson, and that general area where housing prices have really skyrocketed over the last couple of years, they've been using it a great deal as well. So I would say widely used statewide, but primarily in the areas where we have seen a significant jump in property appreciation and values over time. So Brown County and the Fox Valley have used it quite a bit as well. So example of what can be done with the money, and I can give you some real life examples in other communities as well. You know, number one, and Steve referenced the sewer area, extension area, the infrastructure is certainly an option to support affordable housing, so it can drive down the infrastructure costs. Hopefully that triggers a more affordable product that is delivered to the end user by driving down those costs. Development for incentives for affordable housing, you know, that at our seminar, the city of Plymouth is using it for that purpose in part, and that is working directly with a developer in that case to actually drive down their product costs specifically to them. Land acquisition, you can go out and purchase land, deliver that land directly to a developer at no cost to them or for a discounted cost that will hopefully drive down the product cost as well. You can make loans and grants for housing repairs, codes, compliance, and upgrades. That is a lot of what's been done in the city of Waukesha, where they have a much older housing stock. They are really very aggressive in their use of the affordable housing extension money to be able to improve their existing housing stock in the community. And really, it's no interest loans in their case. So they aren't grants. They get paid back over time, but without an interest component to it to help it make it affordable for the homeowners. You can make construction loans as a way to, again, drive down the project cost. And then again, as I mentioned, if you go through do a housing study, that could be paid for out of that fund as well. So that's probably the first trigger that we see of the use of funds is really a housing study being done right away to better identify where the best use of the funds are. So why are we here? As Steve indicated, TID 4 is going to close. It's going to be terminated. Has to be done so prior to 4/15/26. With or without the extension, it's going to be closed because you have collected enough increment to pay off your obligations. So as a result of that, you are required by statute to close out the tax increment district. So that then leads to a policy decision. Use the increment for housing extension or the increased payout to the city and other taxing jurisdictions. So it's really it's not going to, either decision you make is not going to impact the TID closure on levy limits. That's going to remain the same no matter what. It's what happens with the remaining funds in the TIF account and how those funds are distributed. So a quick calculation that was put together, and it's in your packet in the memo that was provided by Steve, is that for the city, what it means is an extra $218,125. It's a one-time money that comes to the city if you do not use the housing extension, because there's more funds that will have to be distributed. So it's about $218,000 to the city versus keeping over $600,000 that could be used for the affordable housing extension. Again, no impact on levy limits. You will have an impact either way. starting for budget year 2027. What it's really going to come down to is if you want to distribute more funds to all the taxing bodies, school, county, technical college, and the city will get your piece, versus retain those funds and use those funds for some type of affordable housing in the city. So that's really what it comes down to from a policy decision, and that's pretty much the extent of the deck. So with that, I know Steve had put together a memorandum. I think that was in your packet. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review that. He had a couple of charts with and without. I kind of summarized it on this one page. But again, I think I want to reiterate that you're not necessarily, if you adopt the resolution to retain the funds, you're not required to identify what the specific use of those funds are immediately. You have time to kind of work through that process.
And Phil, it's my understanding that if you council elects to do this moving forward, and then you decide not to use those funds for affordable housing, that money will accrue interest in our bank, and then it will just be distributed to the 5 different taxing entities at the end. So the thought process is to bring this to the council in 2 weeks to extend, to give you an opportunity to evaluate what you think is best for the community. Is that a fair summary?
That's a fair summary.
Okay.
Phil, you said, and Steve, can you maybe come up too? Phil, you said that if we close it, we only get 118,000 back to the city. At least the chart on the last page shows 301,000 back to the city.
Yeah,
425.
Right, if you close it, you'll get, if you look at the first chart that was in Steve's memo, you'll get 83,839. That's the funds that will come back to the city.
That's with the extension.
That's with the extension. If you don't extend it, to the next chart is 301,000.
Right.
The difference is what I referenced.
Okay, so
between
you referenced the difference, not the full value. Okay.
So the thought process, council, if you have questions for either of these gentlemen, they're happy to share their thoughts. The request is to bring this to the council as an action item in 2 weeks. And if there are any objections or conversations, now would be a good time.
So Steve, okay, so it sits there, we don't have a fixed time frame, but what if it's never used? I mean, we do a study and then we decide we're not going to use this at all.
We can rebate those funds back to the underlying jurisdiction.
Okay,
So
all right.
to preserve the opportunity, you can take some time to evaluate how that's best delivered to make sure that it does reach the homeowner as opposed to somewhere in the development building chain.
Okay. Okay, so that's what you were saying. You said in Whitewater that you did this. Have you followed up with them as far as, have they used it and in what way?
Unfortunately, in about a year and a half after they did this extension, they did do a study for the housing to figure out how to best put it to use, but I left the city by the time they actually implemented a program.
Okay.
Alderman Mulder?
Yeah, I think this seems like there's not holding the money now seems inappropriate in a way. The people that, or the taxing entities will get the money if we decide not to do it. It's something that's coming before us right before the end of, well, Mayor and my term. Affordable housing is something we hear about all the time from our constituents. We have a lot of new homes and we have old aging housing stock in the center part of our city. We have a lot of, it seems like this could be used for lead laterals as a potential. We talk about developing East Wisconsin Avenue, which seems like a great area to use this kind of funding perhaps. So I think it's a good idea. If it's a 6-month pause and the next mayor and the next council says we don't have any plans for this, then so be it. But it feels like right now to not hold the money, at least in a temporary basis, feels like.
And it accrues interest, so
Yeah.
nobody gets hurt by that in the process.
We were paying this TID off way before it was due, so the other taxing entities were not expecting to begin receiving tax revenues this early anyway, so it's not, their budget's not based on what we do with this. It's no additional tax to the public right now.
Alderman Rozak?
Have we ever done this before? We've never done this before.
No.
Other residential developments have developed without this extra cash, right? So we're saying we're gonna use it for potentially affordable housing or studies or loans, but it ultimately could be used to just put in infrastructure for a developer, right? To make potentially the homes more affordable, but it's a small percentage of overall development. 600 grand isn't gonna move the needle much.
Well, and that's, again, the concept being introduced tonight, also in the memo in the packet, TID 4 is the first opportunity to really evaluate. TID 5 and TID 6 are coming up in the next several years. When you combine them all, you're approaching $2 million worth of potential increment.
Right, here's the
that could-
problem,
That
yeah.
could have an
Yeah,
impact.
I understand. Here's the problem, when we do a TID, when we vote to do a TID, we set it out for the goals the TID was meant for.
Yeah.
That's what we told the citizens. So we
Yeah.
tell the citizens, we're gonna do a TID for this project, or we're gonna do a TID for this amount of public benefit. And then at the end of the TID, we're gonna say, no, wait, we're gonna wait another year, we're gonna take some of that cash and use it for other people or other things that we didn't tell you originally we were gonna use it for. I think that's dishonest. I don't think that's the right way to do it. It's such a small amount of money, it's not gonna make that much of a difference. But where it will make a difference is it goes back into our budget. So the school district gets $425,000 if we close early or on time here. City of Economowoc gets $301,000, County of Waukesha gets $93,000. So that means in my next year's budget here in the city, if I need to buy 2 new police cars, or I have my salting truck goes bad and I gotta put a new salting truck, I have money in my budget, I don't have to raise taxes. We didn't tell people when we made these TIDs we were gonna take money at the end out of it to fund these other programs that we never told people about. So I'm completely against this and all the other ones that are proposed.
How is that any different than what we're planning for the Village Green? We're using residual TID monies there for the Village Green that was never part of that program.
No,
We've
the
had
Village
other
Green was
donor-
part
we've
of the
had other
identified
donor
area.
TIDs
No,
that
no,
do that.
it was part of the identified area, that's not true.
But
That was part of the identified area. This is not part of the identified area for the public
That
improvement.
is true. That is-
So I think what we're looking at and what council needs to understand is these are great discussions, but we have one opportunity to investigate and analyze them more, and it could be 3 or 4 multiple committee of the wholes where you look at where to use the money. You don't have to use the money, and there's no downside to not using it. I understand Alderman Rozak's point, but it's really hard to make a quick judgment when you don't know what all your options are. I never knew this existed until a week and a half ago. So Steve, thank you very much. And so it's just an option that council has to decide, do you want to put this forward so that you have time to analyze it? And that's really where it comes down to, because to make a judgment on something you don't know all the facts is, to me, I don't think serves the community right. But you still may come to the same decision to do nothing. Now, the question I would have for you is, let's say that this council says, okay, let's go ahead and move this forward. And in 4 months, they say, you know what, we're done, we're not going to do anything with them. Can they close it right away at 4 months and then distribute the money, or they have to wait a calendar year? So what options does the next council have? Because as Matt and I both said, we won't be here. We're just trying to look at options.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is, there is a final audit that is required as when you close out a tax increment district, and it depends on the timing of that versus when you would release the funds. But likely, you would probably it sounds like you would make that decision probably before the final audit was done anyhow in the district. So the distribution of funds really happen after the final audit. So you have
Gotcha.
some time there as well.
So you have time, so there's really not a downside to doing it. Okay. That makes sense with the timing of it.
Do we need approval, or does the school district get a say in this? Because we're
No.
removing $300,000 from what they could be recovering.
No.
But they agreed to
Recognize
the
things,
original-
things go to the school district, all that money doesn't go to the school district, you guys. It goes to Madison, and then through different calculations come back. So how much they actually get, I don't know. We could maybe try to figure that out. That's what I would do come this spring with the new council, is to analyze all that so you really know what those numbers are. Because taxes are different for school districts than they are for the city. And I don't know if you have any insights to help us on that, Phil, or?
The only thing I would say is, for whatever reason, anytime you do an amendment to a district, you have to go back through the joint review board, which includes the school, county tech, and everyone. So in this case, for whatever reason, the statutes only required the city council in this case to approve the resolution. So it's treated a little bit different than all the other amendments that are, it's not, all the other amendments that are out there.
Alderman Ellis?
So, with the affordable housing extension, we would potentially be looking at what? $83,839? Is that what I see?
The increment value that would be carried over and used for affordable housing if this were pursued would be $606,048. And
It's a
Okay.
significant amount of money.
Right. Now, if we do nothing, however, and then TID 5, TID 6, and TID 7 close, then we could be upwards around 2 million.
with TIDs 5 and 6, if those were also pursued at the time they came for closure, yes.
Okay.
And you'll be having the same discussion all over again.
So if we do nothing at this point, we go without the affordable housing extension, then these other numbers come into play here.
We get a couple $100,000, but our tax levy does not go up. And that's the point Alderman Rozak's making. He's not wrong. My feeling is that you have an option here until you analyze it. Don't jump the gun and lose the option. I would strongly suggest that you move this forward so you have some time to analyze it, because we have not fully analyzed this. And really, it's going to be the next council and the next mayor that's going to decide if this is worthwhile or not. But as they've said, this money is stuck anyway until the audit, so there's really no downside to move it forward. And then
So
philosophically,
by moving
the
this
next council.
forward, we're not actually, doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. What I'm going to say is,
Go ahead.
this is just a discussion anyway.
Right.
Yeah, we're not making a
It's right,
decision.
but I'm trying to get it in my brain here, so when you say that it doesn't matter, please be more specific.
I just mean right now that this is just a
a
discussion piece.
discussion.
The resolution will be in 2 weeks when we have hopefully everyone else here,
Right,
so.
okay. Thank you.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
I think it's worth putting this forward to evaluate this further, and in the meantime, get more information, maybe some information on how other communities have used this. Like Matt said, affordable housing is something that is constantly being required of us here. I know it's more difficult within Oconomowoc, but I think this is worthy of continuing to evaluate, so that's where I am with this.
Other questions or comments for these gentlemen? So without objection, we're going to bring this forward in a couple weeks, have more robust discussions. Also, if there's something specifically that you would like us to investigate, please email Mark Fry. Mark will work with both Phil and Steve and try to get additional answers. So if you have other questions at that time, then you could decide, because we'll be closing it next week, or 2 weeks, right? Well, without any, thank you very much, gentlemen. We appreciate your time. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole.
So moved?
Second.
Well,
All in,
as a point of order, before we close that,
yes, sir.
this is provide direction on potential use of funds. Have we provided direction?
To use the funds?
Yeah, have we provided direction? I don't know if we provided direction.
I apologize, I forget how I worded it in the memo, but the intent was if there was interest in the body
I'm not
to bring
interested.
it back.
I don't know who else is.
Okay.
Well, I asked if anybody without objection, if we brought this forward, and I heard no objection. I have now heard one objection for point of order. And is there anyone that's objecting to this, considering to look at this in 2 weeks?
I object.
So we have 2 objections. Do we have any further objections? Hearing 2 of 4, we'll be moving this forward in 2 weeks. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We will be starting, folks, in 4 minutes. We'll start the Common Council meeting. Thank you. to order the City of Oconomowoc Common Council meeting for Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. Has appropriate meeting notification been made?
It has, Your Honor.
Great. With our American Legion group, Commander Marty McFarland, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Post 91, attention. Hold that. There's one up there too. And salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, folks, and welcome. Would you please call roll?
Alderman Mulder?
Here.
Alderman Shellpepper is excused this evening. Just of note, he's attending the Veterans of Foreign Wars National Convention this evening in Washington, D.C. as a member of the Wisconsin delegation. And they're presenting veterans issues to the senators and members of the House of Representatives. Alderman McConnell.
Here.
Alderman Youngworth is excused. Alderman Rosick.
Here.
Alderman Altman-Cloth. Here. Alderman Ellis.
Here.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Here.
I'd like to entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes for February 17th, 2026.
So moved. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? If anyone in the community would like to make a comment or suggestion to the council on any topic, please fill out a blue card. They're right up in the front. One of our staff will bring it to me. And what I'll do is I'll call your name. If you could please come to the podium, state your name and address and what community you live in, and share your thoughts with the council. I do have one card this evening so far, Mike Archie.
Thank you. I'm coming forward this evening. I had a friend down in Corey, Pennsylvania, who she created Avery's Positive Change. She was a big dog lover, and she never let any dog or animal go hungry. And she created Avery's Positive Change, and did this for 5.5 years while also battling sarcoma cancer. Unfortunately, October 14th of this past year, at the age of 18, she lost her battle. And her legacy is being continued down there by family, and I wanted to bring to the council tonight, I wanted to do something in her memory up here, and what I wanted to do was to put a gumball machine down on by the boardwalk with dog treats, so that when dog owners are walking around the lake with their dogs, they can stop and get a dog treat for their dogs. I did talk with one of the behavioral dog training facilities in Heartland, and she had said that that would be no problem. I know within dog parks, it would cause aggression if I were to put one in the dog park. And so I'm coming to the council with the idea of putting a gumball machine next to the boardwalk. I do have flyers of the front page of the website where you can see videos and pictures of of her website, and also I've got flyers of where I wanted to possibly put the gumball machine.
Do you have flyers with you?
I do.
Then we would love to each have one. Thank you.
Sure.
If you'd like to pass them out, it's fine. If you'd like to pursue something, This isn't a two-way discussion typically, so you can, if you'd like to reach out to our city administrator in the days or weeks ahead and talk to him about it more in depth, that would be great.
All right,
Thank you so much.
I hand these out.
Yes. If you want to give them right up here, we'll take care of getting them distributed. Thank you very much, Mr. Archie.
Thank you. That's
If
very
you want to bring that up, sir, we'll be good to go. You're up next. I'm up next? You are, yes. Paul Pelowski.
Well, close, Mayor. Paul Pikowski,
Oh, that's a
1515 Foxwood Pass, District 1. My topic, I'm going to just bring up here, it's my first common council meeting because I've been remiss and absent from being involved in anything city politic-wise. One, because I'm retired from law enforcement in the city of Waukesha, so I really didn't want to bother. However, my topic today is these retention filtration ponds. The filtration ponds have come to my attention through our HOA. 8 years ago, I was the president of that HOA. I'm back on the board now. I've been told by my board, I believe you as council members all have freedom of speech. If you can go talk to people in your district, it will. I've been told I can't represent my HOA as a board member. So, let's go back to the ponds. Back, I know it was Jason Gallo I've talked with about 8 years ago about ponds. Nothing should need to be done with these filtration ponds. They are designed to just eat water, send it back to the city wells. However, now 8 years later, when most developers would have pulled up stakes and already been gone, now we're being told just last year, all of a sudden we've got all this maintenance dumped in our lap about ponds. Inspections, annual inspections, I'm being told. I want to investigate this further, and I'm trying to set up some meetings with Heath, whoever he is, and I don't think he's here. However, I want to find out exactly why are we getting hit now all of a sudden what they want. Cuttings, they're cutting them down to the skin. And then what's interesting to me is they're hiring people with multi-year contracts to do all this landscaping, shooting our dues up, okay? It's interesting to me because now we find out, because I'm investigating about this ponds, their construction, their maintenance. What happens when they need a full dredging? I'm from a subdivision that has 12 of these now. Can be up to 200 grand per pond. What I suspect the bait and switch is, this is just my suspicion, but I don't want to share misinformation with nobody, so I want to find out. Back when the developers make the deal with the HO or the subdivisions, the development in the city, hey, we'll build this development, but that HOA's got to take on these responsibilities of ponds. One, because they know in their heart of hearts back then, this is going to become a pricey item. And I don't want to say the city back then, which many of you may not even have been here, was nefarious in thinking, well, the tax levy, we're bumping up against the top. That's a little expense we can defer down to these unsuspecting purchasers of homes. So buckle up as these come due. You may have to be shelling out money left hand over foot that people aren't preparing for, which is in addition, an HOA is in addition to your taxes. It's an added tax. We tax ourselves. And now I've got a wayward board that really believe they want to take responsibilities of the city. They're requiring a homeowner who just lost his mom, has health issues, stressed out now because they say they need to require him to present, get this, a building permit before they'll approve his 3-season room, which I'd be able to see from my backyard, okay? I'm trying to tell them they don't have this right. They didn't even stick it into their covenants and bylaws, which they've stuck a lot of stuff in under some strange meeting practices. Announcing a meeting on a website they know is not used and then introducing all kinds of restrictions and added rules and guidelines. Matt's been to some of our meetings. and I think he's familiar with who I am. I've had to stand up and speak out there against some things they've wanted to do. But to tell me I need permission to speak in the United States of America, I've had it up to here. And
Have you talked to anybody here in the city?
I've talked briefly with
Your
Karen.
alderman, your two aldermen?
I've talked briefly with Matt Rozick.
Okay.
I've talked briefly with
Okay.
Jennifer.
Because it seems to me the best thing is to try to find out the exact details, sir. I had Mark Fry, who's our city administrator, took all of your contact information that you filled out, and why don't we try to set up a time where we can get to the details?
Well, I'd like details, especially about these pond expenses. I want to advocate for my neighbors, for the HOA I now represent as 1/5, and I'm 1/5 on an island.
Well, no, and I think whether you represent a lot of people or just yourself, you still are representing, you have that right. We'll make sure that that happens. Okay?
Could you come
Now-
up and give me your contact number?
I didn't put it on there, I don't think.
No. If
But
you
I
don't,
will.
you can just tell them, come up here and let Mark know.
I'll tell you my phone number you want, I'll give it to everybody. I'm so old.
Okay, so everybody call Paul tonight about 11 o'clock, 11:30, and
Anytime, anywhere. Pikowski, it's 262-424-5933. I'm an open book. You want my email address? too?
no, I'll reach out and we'll set up a time to get together.
We'll get that.
First name, sir, is
Mark.
Mark.
Mark Fry.
He's the city administrator, so he's the one that does all the work.
Thank you.
And we all try to look good.
Let's put the people that get paid to work, not some unpaid board of volunteers.
All right. Do we have any other blue cards? Does anybody else have any comments they'd like to share with the council? Seeing none at this time, we'll move on. I'd like to entertain a motion for consent agenda item 6A.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? On to our committee reports. We'll start with finance with our first action item. Consider act on resolution 26-R3341, authorizing amendments to the 2026 budget for continued appropriations. Mr. Hatton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So before you tonight is an annual action that we take to authorize movement of any planned, budgeted, but incomplete items from the 2025 budget and move them into the 2026 budget. So in your packet, you have a schedule of each of those requests from each of the departments, a description of what the carryover request is, as well as one other item is designation of fund balances. So some of those things that we collect fees for that have a designated purpose, this explicitly moves those unspent funds for those purposes into fund balance so that it's reserved and not commingled with unassigned fund balance. It was presented, discussed, and recommended by the Finance Committee earlier tonight for approval by the council. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions or comments for our finance director? I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions, comments? Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman McConnell.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloth. Aye. Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Without objection, I'd like to bring item 12A, a proclamation, forward. Any objections, council? This poor gentleman has probably spent more hours in here than most all of us combined, so Mr. Gross, would you please come up to the podium? So it is my honor to read a special proclamation for a gentleman that's given so much to our community. And there are so many people, and that's what makes Oconomowoc such a wonderful place to live. Mr. Gross, whereas John Gross has dedicated decades of service to the city of Oconomowoc and its citizens through his unwavering commitment to thoughtful, principled civic leadership, and whereas over more than 37 years of public service, John Gross has contributed his time, energy, and expertise to the Oconomowoc community through the extensive elected and appointed roles, including service as an alderman on the Common Council from 1991 to 2007, during which he chaired the Finance Committee, Public Services Committee, Utility Committee, and served as on the board of Economic Development, Capital Improvements Committee, Park and Rec Board, Personnel Committee, and as a representative to the Plan Commission. And whereas, following his initial service, John was appointed to the Plan Commission in 2007 through 2015, bringing continuity, institutional knowledge, and a steady leadership to the city's long-range planning efforts. Whereas, John has subsequently re-elected to the Common Council at a special election, serving from November 15th to April 17th, and was again reappointed to the Plan Commission on April of 2017, where he served to the present day. Whereas, throughout his many years of service, John has consistently demonstrated deep respects for the rights of landowners while carefully considering the broader impacts of new developments on adjacent neighborhoods and the city of Oconomowoc as a whole. And whereas John has become widely recognized as a historian of the Plan Commission, frequently providing invaluable historical context regarding the origins of significant developments such as Pabst Farm, Olympia, and many other areas of the city, thoughtfully explaining how original development assumptions have changed over time and how updated plans can best reflect today's current market conditions and the city's long-term interests. And whereas John's attention to detail, that institutional memory, and the willingness to share historical insight has elevated the deliberations and strengthened the decision-making, adding depth, perspective, and credibility to planning discussions. And whereas John Gross has consistently exemplified fiscal responsibility and practical stewardship, including finding creative ways to save taxpayer dollars and advocating for people-centered design elements such as sidewalks to ensure accessibility, safety, and walkability for residents. And whereas John Gross is a passionate civil servant whose integrity, fairness, honesty, and trust have earned the respect of his colleagues, the staff, and residents alike, and from whom the city of Oconomowoc has benefited greatly over many years. Now, therefore, it be resolved, I, Robert P. Magnus, Mayor of the City of Oconomowoc, on behalf of the past and present elected officials, my colleagues, staff, citizens, do hereby formally recognize John Gross for his extraordinary commitment, dedication, and service to the City of Oconomowoc. And be it further resolved that today, Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026, is hereby proclaimed John Gross Day. Congratulations, John, here in the City of Oconomowoc for your recognition of the lasting contributions and exemplary public service. In witness hereto, we set our hands and cause the official seal of the City of Oconomowoc, Wisconsin to be affixed on this 3rd day of March. John, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
One comment, John, I wanted to make is I've gotten to know John very well on the Plan Commission for the last 6 years. His stewardship and his help with the Plan Commission has really, really had an impact on the city. The amount of comments, the critical thinking has just been really, really helpful. And you were my alderman for many years as well. So thank you, John, on a personal. I'd like to present this to you.
Your Honor, may I make a comment?
Sure.
I mean, having been a politician, you know I can't pass by a live mic. I was actually on the council since 1989 because I was the sole appointment to a vacant seat on the council. So when people look up records, they see my first election one was 91. Yeah. It's minor, so it's been just under 37 years.
Wow. That's great. That servant leadership is so appreciated.
It's something I love. The city is something I really love, and I just ask all of you to keep that in your hearts when you're thinking about what you're doing, what's best for the city.
Council members, would you like to come up here? I think this is pretty special. I think the longest proclamation, I think. So I kept trying to do this, and there was so much material.
sure I got you guys all. Not the microphone. Okay, ready? Look at me. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Okay, council, thank you for allowing me to do that in that order. And I assume, John, you don't want to have to sit here for hours as you did as an alderman, right? So we'll move on to our next finance item, consider act on resolution 26-R3348, accepting the proposal from Civic Plus Website Services.
Good evening. Staff has evaluated an RFP related to redoing of our city website. The timing of this is somewhat timely, given the fact that City of Oconomowoc will be required to have ADA accessibility elements installed into their website in the first quarter of 2027. So staff evaluated 18 RFPs, reviewed those different elements related to that, came down to the determination that Civic Plus is our desired contractor. It'll also add some specific ADA requirements into that, specific programs that'll make it specifically accessible to those to meet the ADA Act, and tools to be able to accommodate those needs of individuals of our community. So we ask that you consider the proposal of Civic Plus in the amount of $26,000 and approve the resolution.
Questions or comments from council? Alderman Spiegelberg.
We had quite a discussion on this before finance and after, so I'll go ahead and make a motion to move this forward, to approve the proposal from Civic Plus.
Do I have any further questions or comments? We'd call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman McConnell.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Duffy. On to Public Services Committee reports. To consider act on resolution 26-R3343 approving refuse and recycle hauling contract with John's Disposal. Mr. Herzog.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. As we discussed in committee, this item is in response to some of the conversations we had in late 2025 regarding our garbage collection, recycle collection, as we retained and extended a one-year contract at the time with the thoughts of regrouping and coming up with a more long-term plan and contract with our hauler, John's Disposal. So inside of here, you can find the very fine details, but basically what I want to address is the garbage collection, the refuge, the recycle, the yard waste will all remain the same. The dates are being proposed as always, no big change there. Yard waste will still be collected as such 20 times a year, no changes there. In fact, the price that we have been paying in all of the second half of 2025 and in 26 will all remain the same. The one item inside of this collection is that will change is our bulk. The bulk items, for the majority of it, will all remain the same. It will be the collection of it that is being proposed to change. And right now, all residents are entitled to put out one bulk item, one eligible bulk item per week. No other action really needed other than putting it out at the curbside. John's collects that, and one of the items that we wanted to pick up during this contract is to kind of make this more applicable for people, more easily and available to be collected. And in order to do that, what's being proposed right now is to change from the one item per week to go to a multi-item pickup and collection for each resident. They will be allowed to have 2 collections per month. In return, John's is asking to have the residents schedule those pickups, meaning residents will now have to call John's Disposal or email John's Disposal and make that reservation or schedule, and they're be allowed to do that twice per month. What they'll now be allowed to do is put out multiple items in return. So if you have a box spring and a mattress, you can put those both out at the same time rather than waiting 1 week. For each of those, you could put out the bed frame, the bedroom set, lawnmower, snow blower, tires. Those all can be put out on the same week if you're doing some sort of household cleaning. Just schedule it with John's Disposal, and they will put you on a list, and now their collection process will be generated by a specific truck rather than randomly having to select that and load those appropriately. That will make their operation more efficient, and kind of a byproduct of doing some of this is now we will be able to kind of reduce the amount of heavy trucks that are repetitively over our street system. So now they'll be able to target those homes specifically once they're scheduled. The items will be mainly the same. Some will be new to some as they're not aware, but we will be targeting the audience, the residents, in the coming months. And one of the major pickups that we'll now be able to provide, John's will now be willing to pick up all electronics, monitors, TVs, household printers. All those can be now disposed right at the curbside. Those have not been able to be collected in the past at your residence. We've been only been able to offer that like twice a year. Waukesha County partners with us, and we host an electronic recycling event twice a year down at our DPW shop. And a lot of those items can be collected for free, but TVs were not. At the time, they were a $25 fee. So with our process and our program that's being proposed, all residents inside the city that live in 4 units or less will now have the option to call in and schedule their recycle to have their electronics recycled. The program is much advanced. This is becoming more popular on a style on collecting. How we're looking to do this internally with staff, with John's Disposal, is to do a period of time where we will be distributing out material in a variety of different fashions, trying to reach everybody in the city as best we can. June 1st, we're targeting to turn this into a live program. John's will then be available to have calls and collections. Like I said, residents can call up to twice a month. John's will still be collecting bulks every week. You are now just entitled, you are call in up to 2 times a time. After June 1st, the program will go on. John's is willing to kind of do a phasing of this, where they'll collect as described. If residents didn't get the message or weren't clear with it, and they continue to go underneath our old program where they just put it out, don't call in or don't schedule it, John's will be prepared for that, willing to collect it still and give them a flyer of the actual program. Do that for 3 months. After the 3 months, we'll do that June, July, and August. So after that period, if a resident happens to still not catch the program and now they put out an item, John's will put a flyer on there indicating the program details, but leave the item there until they call it in. Trying to trigger that motion and get everybody on board with this. So that's a good 5 months of being able to roll this out. So I think the program will catch on fast. We're going to use some of the options that we already distribute information through: utility billing, social media, website, newspaper, those types of things. We may take advantage of some other local things as well. So I think those are all the details. Any questions?
Comments or questions from council? That was very well done. Rusty.
I have one that we didn't talk about in committee, so sorry about that. Is there a guarantee on how available the scheduling will be? Have they made any sort of those? It sounds great, but if there's only 1 slot available per month, that kind of defeats the purpose.
You want Nate to respond?
Yeah, Nate's here with John's. He can, describe it right from John's themselves.
Fair question. So just a little
Introduce
additional
yourself, Nate.
history.
Hey, introduce yourself.
Sorry. I'm Nate Austin from John's Disposal. I've been managing our account with the city for the last 10 years. Prior to that, I was a driver, and I picked up probably all of your trash and recycling at some point, so I'm very familiar with the city. This is a program that we use in the vast majority of our communities. Our call center is fully aware of how it functions, and I would say generally those collections are made within a week. We're a seasonal industry in the same way you see it with your yard waste. Yard waste less used in the heat of the summer, but this program allows us to flex a little bit with that. So typically within a week in a real high volume time, we might say we're available the next week. The scheduling allows us to be, we gain some efficiency, and then your residents benefit from that. And then I think from, the only other point I would add is that from a quality of service standpoint, when we're getting scheduled over an email or a phone call, our calls are recorded. Our calls or emails turn into dispatched work orders that are tracked and marked completed. So all of a sudden now there's a little bit less, well, I had it out here on time, or I had two things, or whatever it is. Now we can say, well, this is what you said on the phone, and here's what we came to collect, and here's when we were here. So a little proof of service.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Alderman Altman-Cloth.
I'm trying to think of how to ask this. So I guess I'll just tell a quick story. About a month ago, not even, we put a mattress out knowing that you guys will pick up one large item, and then it didn't get picked up. My husband called and he said, why was this not picked up? And they said, you now have to call to schedule this. And I said, well, yeah, I knew it was coming because we've discussed it. And I said, no, that's not quite the new program yet, but just make the appointment and schedule it. So just so we don't confuse our residents, that we're not there yet.
No, you're not there yet, so that would have been in error, and
Yeah,
I don't.
which is fine. We didn't mind scheduling it. You guys, and to answer McConnell's concern, Wednesday when it wasn't picked up, we called. You guys were there by, I think, Monday or Tuesday of the next week and picked it up. So, but yeah, just to help in the transition that, yeah.
I don't tell my call center staff every proposal I make to a community either, so that was just a comment made in error.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think, Paige, if you can help us with that in communication, that would be great. Work with Charkley, with Johns, so that we can get that word out as soon as possible.
But scheduling with you was very easy.
Other questions or comments? Alderman Rozak.
Yeah, I think, Nate, thanks for coming in. It was a good negotiation by city staff. I'm glad we held our rate to the 205, because I think that probably helped us negotiate a better rate instead of raising it. So I think that was a really good idea by council, and we kept the rates low. I will not be able to vote on this agenda item because I am currently representing Johns in a litigation matter in Racine, and I don't think it would be appropriate for me while I'm representing you guys to vote on the contract, but I think it's a good contract, so.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? You can sit down, thank you. Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder?
Aye.
Alderman McConnell?
Aye.
Alderman Rosick is abstaining?
Abstain.
Thank you. Alderman Altman-Cloth?
Aye.
Alderman Ellis?
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
Aye.
Under one plan commission item, consider act on the conditional use permit for a 165-foot monopole cell tower located at 1011 Blue Ribbon Circle North. Mr. Gallo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll give a brief presentation on this conditional use permit for the cell tower at 1101 Blue Ribbon Circle North. We held a public hearing on this back on October 21st. It was not on that meeting agenda. There was some loose ends that needed to be figured out. We've been working hard on that since that public hearing, and I'll show you kind of some of the updates. But I'm happy to say that everything's been worked out, and this application is now ready for your final review and potential action this evening. So the tower is 165 feet. It's a monopole. It's not the guided towers. It's a single tower going up. It's shown where the red dot is here on the screen. It's right off of I-94. It's serving an area I'll show later in the presentation, the service map, but you can see it's strategically located with the Oconomowoc Corporate Center and the Paps Farms Commerce Center, as well as the new development in Paps Farms, all in the city, and then even the Aurora Medical in Summit. So it'll serve a large area and all the traffic on I-94. I should state that when we held the public hearing back in October, there was one speaker that did come and speak and just had some questions about it. So since that October meeting, there's been some work done. I highlighted this survey was updated. You can see it's dated February 12th of 2026. So that's just one item, but ultimately the tower is in the same location as it was previously proposed. Staff did a technical review at this location. There was no need to move the tower. We've got here two letters. One is the owners of the Dock Hound saying that they authorized Keith Nyman, who's here in the audience, to represent this application to move it forward. And then we also have a letter dated February 11th, 2026. Since that public hearing, this letter's come out. They've created a new entity called the Southwest Business Park at Paps Farms Owners Association. And they say it serves as, this is support, a support letter from that entity. So for the cell tower at that location. One of the questions that was raised by the Plan Commission when this was moving forward is does Trans 233, meaning the Department of Transportation, do they have any setbacks from the freeway? They don't want anything too close to it. When the certified survey map was approved in 2003, I circled it here because it's kind of hard to see. It says WISDOT has granted special exception, reducing the highway setback to 0. And then here's the letter from 2023 endorsing that certified survey map. So there's no DOT setback, but there was a self-imposed Paps Farms 50-foot setback that has been since waived by the association. So with all towers, we have, for all conditional use permits, which could be a car wash or a tower or anything else, we have specific standards. These are the standards for towers. And we went through these, and they really met the burden of proof that they have met or exceeded all of these requirements. There's aesthetic requirements and talk about location of a 500 feet within a historic structure, which it's not. Right here it says that. And it says setbacks, letter F is not applicable because that's from a residential property line. So they've conformed with all of these setbacks. This is the site plan that the Plan Commission looked at. They have an access easement down off of Blue Ribbon Circle to get to the tower. They'll be going to it monthly just to check on it. They'll go through a access drive to the back here, and the tower will be kind of, I thought this was nice to show an aerial photo because it shows the distance from the freeway and from the property line, as well as all of the existing landscaping and vegetation and trees that are out there. This is the compound. It does show a detailed location. It's 30-some feet from the property line, but then the property line's a lot further away from the freeway. There's a fenced-in area that I put at the bottom here, 6 foot or 8 foot fence with, 6 foot with another foot of barbed wire on top for security. And then there's no landscaping existing on the 2 sides of the compound, so they will be installing some evergreen trees around that to soften that. The fence looks a little industrial. This is what it would look like. It is being made to co-locate for additional carriers. So we're not just putting up a tower for one carrier. This is, you know, in the tower business, they like to share their sites with other cell companies as well, so they show future antennas. They did provide a fall zone letter saying towers are made to more like whip around in hurricane winds. It would result in a fall radius of 30 feet or less at ground level. So that's according to a stamped professional engineer dated 2025. This is that coverage map that I mentioned. So this is the existing coverage here, and then this is what the proposed site with the proposed location of what it would do. So it increases that. Yellow is unreliable for in vehicles, and it would increase that to the blue area, which would be reliable. They provided some photo simulations. They didn't have to do this, but staff said it would be helpful for the Common Council to understand this. You can see, you know, what it would look like with the tower. A plan commissioner that was here earlier, John Gross, said he can't see a better spot in the whole city for a tower. This is already a site that's filled with tall light poles. It seems to blend in very well. So there's a couple of photo simulations here. From different angles of what it would look like for that tower to be there. So we drafted a conditional use permit. It's pretty standard boiler type language about that this use is hereby approved. Maintain access, fencing, lighting, landscaping, you know, signage, etc. The one thing that I wanted to bring up is the Plan Commission discussed, but they did not ultimately do it, adding a condition regarding assurances for the tower removal in the future. This was discussed, and the applicant said that Diamond does have a bond and a removal of personal property language in their agreement with DC Holdings LLC, which includes the removal of the foundation to 2 feet below the surface level upon termination date of a tower agreement. Towers could be phased out over time with new technologies like satellites. I took some of these photos off the internet. I wanted the council to see what happens when a tower is constructed. There's a lot of concrete and rebar. Do we care if the tower is just cut off and remained, or do you want all of this removed? That's just something to maybe talk about. The applicant, again, is here, and if you have any questions about conditions, but there's already some language built in that there is some restoration of the site if the tower is to be removed. So the Plan Commission did send this forward to you with no recommendation. It was a 2-2 vote for the tower. 2 were in favor, 2 were against, 2 abstained, and 1 member was absent. So kind of a pretty wild vote by the Plan Commission to send this forward. During that public hearing, I mentioned there was 1 speaker. She had some questions about potential health issues, and I just wanted the council to know that this is right out of the state statutes. It says that the municipality cannot do any of the following: impose environmental testing, sampling, monitoring requirements, or compliance measures for radio frequency emissions on mobile service facilities or mobile service providers. So I'm not an attorney, but we can't really get into the health issues or the testing or the levels of radiation or anything else that they might feel that it's giving off. So with that, I'll be available to answer any questions on this tower, and I know Keith is here as well.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
When is the last time we approved a new monopole?
It'd be the one on North,
Right over
Highway
here.
K.
Okay.
That was, I would say approximately 7 years ago, 5 to 7 years ago.
Okay.
That was longer than that.
I would be curious as to the 2 on Plan Commission that voted against and why.
Trying to remember.
Planning Commission member here.
Yeah, we have Dean Fredericks.
Dean, do you remember?
Dean?
Dean Frederick, Planning Commissioner. I did vote no. My concern was the location to the highway, to the freeway, and the setback information, that we just didn't have enough information, I felt, to act on it. That was, Alderman Ellis, do you remember? I think you may have been a nay vote also.
I actually remembered voting yes.
Do you?
Yeah, and my rationale there was because we had the light towers, it would kind of hide in a sense. I thought that it was far enough away from the highway, and it would also give us better coverage, because I know there's spotty areas in that area. So I remember voting aye on that.
And
I don't
I
remember, but-
abstained because I was a conflict of interest, so.
Right. We knew as a planning commission it ultimately would come here, but I just didn't think the application was complete at the time, and I would have supported it being further away just for the 50-foot setback.
I'd like to finish up my thoughts. Thank you, Dean. You know, we sit in this quasi-judicial role to look at this evidence and decide whether we want to approve this or not. I'm okay with the findings 1 through 7, but I'm really not okay with number 8, specifically, will the proposed conditional use negatively affect the health? They're saying that we can't do any testing or monitoring on the radiation on those, and that gives me great pause. So I will be voting against this.
Other questions or comments? Alderman Altman Cloth.
The reason that Commissioner Fredericks gave for voting against it, how close it is to the freeway. So I know you had talked about like the fall zone. If it was to fall to the north, how close would it come to the freeway?
The way that the tower's designed, you know, it wouldn't hit the freeway because they have breakpoints and other things where it would collapse upon itself. It's as a 30-foot radius fall zone.
And there were a lot of questions during the Plan Commission that there was a lot of confusion as to whether we could move forward on it. So that's why you had that kind of vote, is my recollection. Alderman Mulder? No. Alderman Rozak?
Yeah, I'll be voting yes for this. Jason just gave us the state statute that says we can consider some of these health and safety issues. It otherwise complies with our CUP. If it complies with the CUP, federal and state law, it really creates problems for us to vote against it. You have the Federal Supremacy Clause, that's Article 6, Clause 2. It says federal law is supreme. The feds have given some of the control to this to state law, and state law has given us the conditions on which to comply with to look at this. The problem with voting against something like this becomes, just like all sorts of things, cell phone towers, cell connections, interstate roads, air traffic control. If small little municipalities decide they're not going to let an interstate road come through because it's too big, that affects everybody in the country that tries to drive that interstate road. So I'm going to vote for this. This is technology we need, all of us use. I'm guessing we all have cell phones with us right now, right? Yeah, so look, they say they need more coverage. I think otherwise they comply with the CUP and state and federal law, and federal law is supreme in this space, so.
Any other questions or comments, either for the applicant or for Mr. Gallo? Like to entertain a motion, please?
Rozak, so moved.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Any thoughts about these condition for assurances for future tower removal?
What did the clause say in their contract? 2 feet below grade, right?
It's down below.
Low grade.
2 feet below
They do have a
surface
bond
level.
and removal for personal property. Includes the removal of foundation to 2 feet below the surface level.
I think that's adequate, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay.
Can they take that out though at any time? If it's their bond and their clause, can they take it out?
No, it's part of the contract. I mean, you have to renegotiate the contract, I guess. And it's probably bonded with, from a separate agency.
So we have a motion, a second. Any further questions or comments? Alderman Spiegelberg.
I understand that we all use technology, but it needs to be safe, and I don't feel like it's regulated enough right now that we can potentially say it's all safe, even though we all use it every day.
Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder,
Aye.
Alderman McConnell,
Aye.
Alderman Rosick,
Aye.
Alderman Altman Close.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Nay.
On to our next item, on to some new business. Consider act on resolution 26R3347, approving the donation of $6,000 to the American Legion Veterans Park for flags. So this was something council was brought to me just a few weeks ago about the high cost of the flags for our Veterans Park, and the amazing part that they have to be replaced almost every 3 months because of the wind and the damage. So I've asked them, can we find a better flag maker? That was my first comment. They've done that. Do you want to come up and talk to that moment?
I don't have one of those little blue cards, but we have probably one of the best flag makers right now. This company designed a poly flag that will, the American flag is always a poly, but this company did the 6x10 flags, and they do them for us in poly.
Oh, good.
And it was my idea, and all of a sudden they patented it. I went, wait a minute, why don't I get some money out of this?
Yeah, or free
But,
flags for the city.
It's been, and the city puts all the flags up. They're very good. When there's a bad one, they'll take it down. They'll save one that's not real bad. It's just the cost of the flags, and flags have went up in price 3 times since I've been taken over. It's just unbelievable what
Mayor,
the cost of flags are.
Mayor, he did
And-
not state his name.
And the city actually is buying the flags from the American Legion. So,
Sir, would you please identify yourself for the council?
Yeah, what is your name? What is your name, sir? Okay, for the record, that was Dale Sager.
Thanks, Dale. So I thought this was something good. I sat down with Steve Hatton, our finance director, and Mark Fryer, city administrator, and say, okay, where would this money come from? And so the recommendation was to take this out of contingency for 2026. I think it's a reasonable expense to help. It does not cover a whole year of flags, guys. But I also recommended to the Legion that if they're looking for future support, they come back to the new council and talk about it during our budgeting process to see if there's some way that we can help and be a little bit more proactive in doing it through our regular operating budget process. So my recommendation is that we approve this. This is up to you as council as to what you'd like to do. I'll open it up for any further discussion. If you have any question for our veterans from the Legion, Alderman Rozak.
How much do the flags cost a year if you had to replace them for a whole year? Is it double that, triple that? How much flags for the whole year, sir? About 12?
12 to 15.
varies, you know, depending upon how they put them out, it's, man, when sometimes we can put some up in January and by March they're done.
Yeah.
And it's a terrible, terrible situation out there with the wind.
Yes.
And not all flags go to heck either. It's funny because some of them do, but the city guys are taking care of watching, saving them, and they make sure that Memorial Day, 4th of July, we've got good flags up there. I'm very happy with the way things are working.
Good.
Well, one thing I'll say is our community has come together for fundraisers in the past significantly. This is something I'd be happy to look into for next year. We're funding it for this year, I guess at least part of it. But we've raised an incredible amount of money for everything from canines to body cameras and all this stuff. This is something would be an easy afternoon lunch, night wine thing a year for the community to get together and help you guys. I mean, so it's something I'll look into.
Or at Wingers.
Or Wingers.
Tom.
Sorry.
Right now, we'll start right now, Charlie.
One other thing we did do down there is, I put a book down there.
Can you come up to the podium, please?
I don't know, that voice, the whole city.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
We have to make sure we get on the record and get your pretty face.
One other thing we did do is we put a bookcase down there with not everybody has a cell phone with them to find their name on the wall and to find their bricks. There's a book down there right now. You look, pull that book out. I put it up right before winter, and it's been working out great. It's been, people have been using it because we move the book around in different spots. There's also brochures down there in that book that tells you all about Veterans Park, how it started, how you can take the walk down and go around it.
Great.
So
It's
that's,
a huge, huge value in the whole city and something wonderful. I'm glad you brought this to our attention. And as you can see from the comments, you have a very supportive council. And this is just the tip of the iceberg to say, how can we help you in this short term? But I think there's more that can be done. Alderman Spiegelberg?
We've talked about the proper use of fund balances, and this is a privilege for us to use this for these flags for you guys, for the Veterans Park. So thank you for all that you do, and obviously, I think we'll all be in support of this.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any, yeah.
I just want to point out, it is a budget amendment. We need 6
Yes,
votes.
yes.
I do not believe that's a problem, but I just wanted to point it out.
Yeah, if anybody votes no, it fails. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? And we only have 6 aldermen here, so that is the number that we need for a yes vote. So call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman McConnell.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Congratulations, gentlemen and ladies, and thank you so much for your support. You bet. Thank you. One of the things I was going to do at the beginning of the council, and if you gentlemen would and ladies would still stand at this moment, I think it would be really nice just to take a moment of silence for some of our lost veterans that unfortunately have happened over the last several days. So if we'd all please take a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Thank you, Council. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, Council, we're going to move on with some additional items. Let's go on to consider act on a license agreement for the city trail spur to Waukesha County's Lake Country Trail within the We Energies right-of-way. Mr. Duffy.
As you know, we've been working on trying to establish a restroom trailhead structure at the Lake Country Trail adjacent to Chapman Park. We Energies actually controls the Highline right-of-way in that area. So the first agreement is a license agreement to be able to use land that they own and control. Attorney Riffle has reviewed it. We've already received a certificate of insurance, which is one of the requirements of that. We just need to initialize that agreement in order to continue to proceed.
Questions or comments from council? I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman McConnell.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
On to our next item, consider act on the agreement between the city of Waukesha and the city We Energies for the Lake Country Trail connection. Mr. Duffy.
This is a companion agreement because the Lake Country Trail is a Waukesha County facility within the We Energies right-of-way. We also need a tri-party agreement in order to connect to the Lake Country Trail and any other components related to responsibilities that Waukesha County is placing on the city related to that trail spur extension.
Questions or comments for Mr. Duffy? I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman McConnell.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
On to our next item, which is consider act on ordinance 26-01117 to repeal and recreate 24-01065 to create and establish a municipal court. Council, this is a first reading.
Thank you, Mayor.
Fry.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to handle both items very simply. All we did was add in the words Village of Palmyra. They became a member of the court. They were voted in, so we have to change our documents for it. Only change in the 2 documents before you is the addition of that community's name.
Like to entertain a motion for the first one just read. You have the option to waive the first reading. Or waive the second reading. excuse
So moved, waiving the second reading?
me. Any seconds?
Second.
Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman McConnell.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
This is the second part. Consider act on revised Lake Country Municipal Court successor agreement. I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman McConnell.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, folks. We're going to move on to our staff reports. Mr. Fry.
So as many of you know that we were very fortunate to have a very talented engineer working for our electric utility and then expanding out to the other utilities, Lucas Kane. Lucas is now taking the opportunity to become a utility manager in another public power community, City of Lake Mills. And just wanted to thank Lucas for all of his years of service here. Look forward to watching him prosper in his new job, and you know, he's always welcome to come back. So, thank you, Lucas.
Thank you.
On to any comments from the aldermen. Alderman Rozak.
I just have one, just what's going on nationally. With our current action in the Middle East, I just encourage our city and our citizens to keep our soldiers in their prayers. Those men and women are going in harm's way, and there's a lot going on. And I think it's important for us to take a moment, if we can, to think about them and pray for them.
Any other comments from aldermen? Alderman Ellis.
Yeah, I was, you kind of got me before I said it. I'd like to take maybe just a minute, if that, and just remember all those individuals that are now out there. My son included, fighting for our freedom.
Let's all take a special moment, please.
Thank you.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Oh, boy, after that. I just wanted to give a shout out to Alderman Shellpepper for his attendance at the Veterans of Foreign Wars National Convention, and I think we'll all be curious to hear what he has to say when he comes back.
Any other comments from aldermen this evening? On to reports or comments from the mayor. I just want to thank everybody for coming today. And it's nice to see everybody, and wish everybody a wonderful week. We've got some warmer weather coming. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.